If you want someone to stay with you and you want them to go above and beyond and not just clock in, clock out, when they're feeling a little under the weather, not just call in sick because they care. If you care about them, they will care about you. So really thinking about what's in it for them, why they should work for you, and how can you actually genuinely care. If they're going to make you millions and millions of dollars, then you have a responsibility to look after them.
Welcome to the Great Talent, Great Business Podcast, your go-to resource for building exceptional teams and thriving businesses. Each episode delivers actionable insights on harnessing offshore talent, integrating innovative technology, cultivating a vibrant company culture, and attracting and retaining top performers. Subscribe now to never miss an episode. For more resources, visit greattalentpodcast.com, where you can download this episode's free worksheet designed to help you apply today's insight to your business. And now, here's your host, Rob Levin.
Today, I'm joined by Jade Green, a trailblazer in company culture and recognized as one of Australia's top 50 women entrepreneurs under 40. Jade believes the fate of humanity hinges on bold business leaders who balance profit with the well-being of employees and society. Her approach is no BS and whole human, emphasizing leadership that transcends traditional business practices to foster environments where teams thrive and legacies are built. How could you not love this? Jade's mission is to create ripples of positive change, impacting industries, communities, and generations. Let's dive right in. Jade, welcome.
Thank you so much, Rob. Clearly, the accolade of under 40 was just a couple of years ago.
We'll sneak it right in. I'm so glad we got to reconnect. Just for everybody's info, Jade and I met at the Genius Network conference in November, and we hit it off. And when I heard a little bit about what Jade does and how exciting she is about this topic, which not a lot of people get excited about, but they should, I was like, we got to get Jade on the show. Let's jump right in. So you did a keynote that I saw called Culture is Caught, Not Taught. And you challenged the traditional ways of building company culture. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And when it comes to company culture, what should small and mid-sized businesses be doing?
Okay, beautiful. Firstly, I have to tip my hat to Ben Horowitz and his book, What You Do Is Who You Are. That's where I really took the concept of culture is caught, not taught, but seeing that in action. It's like, it's really... What people don't realize is that your BS words on a wall, that are your values and your vision, mission, values, and we all read the books and we get in there and we usually bring our marketing team in and they come up with these amazing slogans and we stick them on our website and our brochure and we say we interview around them. And we ask people like, do you believe in integrity? And you're like, yes, because no one's going to say, no, I'm a lying mother. Yeah, right? So for me, the biggest pitfall I see for small to medium enterprise, or even people when they're just starting up, they do vision, mission, values wrong. And they pick these cool words or what they think people should, and it's about what they think they should have and what the customer might like. And they don't actually think about, it's like parenting, right? Do as I say, not as I do. Oh yeah, how's that work out with a teenager? It's got to be, you've got to make your values, I now like to use the word principles, and I'll talk to that later if we get to it. It's got to be how you're going to show up every single day, because what you model gets reflected. So the example I use the most in this is that you've got a sales team, you've got your sales manager, and you're doing your end of month like things, and then the sales manager sandbags a deal and holds it over to next month.
Right.
Or, kind of changes the purchase order so it falls in this month, or you fudge a little bit of something to the customer to get it across the line, but on your wall you say we believe in trust and integrity or honesty, and you're like, dissolved. So it's got to be, never ever put anything up that you're not going to live, breathe, die, hire, fire, work with clients over or not. So it's got to be, whoever's going to be at the front line with your people, they need to be able to literally embody it, believe it, and then that's how it ricochets, because culture doesn't rise to your highest common denominator and what you want as your ideal. It sinks to the lowest common denominator and what's happening in the field, because when we see somebody else getting away with it, what you permit, you promote. So
Yeah, thanks for that. And by the way, when you say it, it almost seems like common sense, but yet it isn't that common.
yeah.
I have a follow-up to that. Our audience, they've had businesses, usually most of them for a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say somebody's watching this and they go, you know what? You're right. But I've been doing business this way for a while and I want to change. What's like the first thing they need to do if
Yeah.
they want to create some change in what their culture, the culture is like in their company?
Yep. I like to do what I call a Phoenix project. I like to burn all the underproductive, unserving behaviors to the ground because the science of behavior change, putting a line in and go, you know what we did before, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, doesn't matter. What we're choosing to do moving forward is most important. So we're putting that line in the sand, and it's not about the past, it's about the future, and we're going to rise from the ashes, choosing our wings and what we want to do. So I choose a moment in time that you're going to do that and make a really big deal out of it. Like, you want the culture shock, you want the pattern interrupt, you want some sort of memory to link it and some fun to it as well, and some ritual. But the first step about that is getting clear with yourself. Take yourself out of your office, take yourself out of your environment, and really stop and reflect and go, who is the human I want to be on a day-to-day basis? What's the character traits I want to exude? And if you're not the person that's leading the company, like you're in the background, you've got managers or whatever, you need to pull them out and you need to get to the essence of who they are and how they can dial that up, because they're the ones people are going to catch the behavior from. And so it's really about going, what is that reset? What is it we want to move forward with? And how can we live it? And then I love to bring in the exercises from James Clear's book, so from Atomic Habits, and go, okay, well, if this is the character I want to be, what's the habits, behaviors, and routines that allows me to show up in that way? And then that makes it easier for you to figure out what you need to do to be able to get that lived experience through the team.
Yeah, and to do it consistently. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Jumping around a little bit here, you have a quote that I absolutely love here. It says, happiness is the greatest hack for performance and profitability.
Yes.
I just did a little video on LinkedIn talking about how friendships are important for work because this is a big part of our life. So what are some of the simple ways that businesses can boost employee happiness and then experience the results?
Awesome. I'm going to start with what usually trips people up. They're like, happiness, it's all woo-woo and fluffy. Why do we want them to be happy? Like, then everyone's going to be just messing around and not doing their work. So I want you to think about the state of happiness first. So, because this is how we get to this, how we get to the tactical. So think about this. If you are depressed or ruminating and dwelling on things that happened in the past, you're in a loop, etc., and you're over here and you're like, your brain's not with it. Or you're anxious. You're like super worried about the future. You're future effing yourself, I say. You're over here and you're anxious and you're heightened and you're constantly thinking about the consequences and the what ifs. How can you do your best work? Because you're not present right here in the now. And so when we're happy or content, then we're able to stay focused, and that's where we can do our best work. So we want to think about, how do we remove the VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. I never say, I'm dyslexic, and my clients wrote it on the wall for me the other day. They're highlighting and they're like, it's just because we love you. We want you to speak properly. I'm like, oh.
Well, you pulled it off well.
Right? So you want to look at, what is it that you're doing in your organization that's creating VUCA, which is the main cause of depression and anxiety. And how can you remove that? Now, if you have your team conditioned to respond to an email within 5 minutes and they've got alerts going on, I know you turned on your do not disturb before we talked, the binging is designed to create chemical reactions that cause us to be like anxious. And really, what's your business like if all your people have to respond to email or Slack messages or a chat click up or like in real time? How are they ever going to have deep focused work? Now, we know that peak performance comes when you hit flow state. And the only way to get flow state is to be able to have some dedicated time where you can focus in. And so if you've got something pattern interrupting you all the time, you're completely messing yourself up and you're messing the nervous system.
Yeah.
So that's a really practical way that doesn't seem like happy, but I love what you talked about with friendship. We know that people who have a best friend at work, so that doesn't need to be their best friend, but a best work friend, are 7 times more likely to stay with an organization, so they retain them, which makes them 7 times more productive and therefore 7 times more profitable usually.
Yeah. Yeah. As I was hearing you talk about this happiness concept, what comes to mind is, as the business owner, a big part of your job is to kind of set the stage for people to work productively. Less distractions, less ambiguity. I have this phrase which I borrowed called mutual mystification, which many companies seem to run on, right? Thanks for all that. I think that was right on the money. This episode is brought to you by Work Better Now, your trusted partner for getting high-performing talent from Latin America. Our clients tell us that partnering with Work Better Now has transformed their businesses by providing the proactive, reliable, and skilled professionals that they need to thrive. Ready to build your dream team? Visit workbetternow.com to schedule your consultation today. As a special thank you to listeners of the Great Talent, Great Business podcast, we're offering $150 off your first 3 months. Just mention Great Talent during your consult. Join the businesses building their dream teams and take the next step in transforming yours today. You, like me, I think you believe that the competition for talent is probably greater than the competition is for customer these days.
Oh.
And I know you love to talk about attracting top talent. What can businesses be doing these days to be attracting top talent when there's just not enough of it to go around, quite frankly?
Yeah. If you really want to win the war for talent, you've got to put yourself into their shoes and ask yourself, why the hell would they work for you? Like when I ask this question, I'm like, we have flexibility, we do remote work, we have a great culture. I'm like, yeah, 10 of you around the table just told me the same thing. What does that actually mean? How does that play out for your people? How do you keep connection? How do you really look at how you support them as a human being? So I'm all about the whole human. If you want someone to stay with you and you want them to go above and beyond and not just clock in, clock out, when they're feeling a little under the weather, not just call in sick because they care. If you care about them, they will care about you, right? So really thinking about what's in it for them, why they should work for you, and how can you actually genuinely care. If they're going to make you millions and millions of dollars, then you have a responsibility to look after them.
Give me some examples. I've always said that it's a company's responsibility to provide learning opportunities, for example, for their team. But give me a few of your own examples of what that might look like.
Yeah, I really love that. I think the fate of humanity rests on the shoulders of emerging businesses, and it's our actual civic responsibility to look after the humans that help us build wealth and contribute to the world, because we can't rely on the governments and education. So tapping in, and this is why, like, I asked my team members at the beginning of the year to do their Bliss Upon blueprint. What are your personal goals for the year? What are your growth goals? What's going to make you feel fulfilled? Where are you feeling challenged in your work that causes you stress that I could give you an opportunity? Like my EAK, she's like, I see that we're doing a heap of work in construction project management and we're doing all these projects and I'm using ClickUp and I just feel like I could be better. Would you mind if I did a project management course? And I'm like, knock yourself out, babe. Right? I've worked with people that I don't work with anymore that are like, well, they expect to put that on their time card. I'm like, yeah, why shouldn't they put it on their time card? What do you mean? So helping enrich them, helping them grow and make their lives easier. But for me, it's always following up and, okay, what is one of your goals? How can I support you in that? And like, sometimes I'll send a book or just knowing what's important to them. I knew for one of my assistants, their daughter desperately wanted to go to this theme park and, you know, it was quite expensive to send the whole family. So for her birthday, that's what I gifted the family. Now I could have given them money, I could have given that, but that then wrapped up as an experience that was meaningful to them.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you for that. Let's talk now, you're attracting great talent. Let's talk about onboarding, which I think companies Many companies
Royally
seem to
screw up.
miss, like, yeah, like, here's a bunch of forms to fill out on your first day.
Yeah.
I love what Jack Daly says, which is, if that person has a significant other, you want them going home that day saying, oh my goodness, this was the best decision I ever made. So tell us a little bit about what companies are doing wrong and really what they should be doing
Yeah.
right when it comes to onboarding.
When you say that, that's the key thing that I want people to think about for the first day experience. Even if it's not a significant other, if you start a job for the first day, unless you're like completely removed from society, someone is going to ask you how your first day was. You want to think about what are the specific words, what do you want them to think, feel, say, and do after that first day? And then you design backwards from there. And really, what people do wrong is someone turns up. If you look up Chip, can't remember Chip's last name. They wrote the book, Chip and Dan, they wrote the book Moments. And if you look on YouTube for the John Deere first day experience and moments, and that video just says it all about what people do wrong. So your new starter starts, no one's actually allocated, maybe the admin person's allocated to onboarding them, but they're busy, no one's actually spent time on it. You start the day feeling like you're an inconvenience and there's no thoughtfulness, or we throw someone a operations manual or a compliance or sign all these conditions. Gross, right? Like boring. So you want to think about, like, if you really want to indoctrinate someone into your actual culture, what are some of these things? What do you do to create those memories? Because first impressions, you only get one shot at them, right? So how are you going to leave this first impression? What's the energy? You really need to, if you mess up the first day, then don't blame the talent if they walk out the door, because you're like, oh, they were crap. Like all the people we hire are crap. People just don't want to work anymore. It's like, maybe you taught them not to work. Maybe you told them you didn't care. So why the hell would they care?
Yeah. That you hired some really good people, you've onboarded them well, your culture is now straightened out. When it comes to getting people aligned with your goals and getting them productive, they're happy, what are some of the things you need to do to kind of connect the dots to make them productive? They're doing the things that you really want them to do, and maybe even more.
Yeah. So firstly, remove the roadblocks. Really look at what is the systems and processes you've put into the business that might be messing up their flow. Like the conditioning of when to answer emails or messages or Slack, or like really think about your communication and how that's affecting people. Have you allowed them the space to actually do the deep work? So one of the key things that I work with teams on and in the individuals is creating your ideal week calendar. And so really sitting down at the beginning of the week or the end of the week before and making your time blocks, but communicating that together. So if you know that you need a team that's going to be connected at certain times, then you align everyone's calendars so that like that's the time we're going to be like bing, 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 bing. We're going to be going through, we're going to be doing this. And also say, but this time, I take this from Stephen Kotler's work with the Flow Research Collective. It's called F off, I'm flowing. And I have that in my calendar and my team see F off, I'm flowing. And we all share so that we know not to disturb each other. And we message going, okay, go on dark now, be back in an hour, or we have do not disturb set up on the phones. They know that they're in the favorite. So if they need to, if it's a emergency, pattern interrupt can double call and it'll get through. So it's not like you're completely gone if there's an emergency, but think about how you can create those conditions, but also get your teams together at the beginning of the week to share what they're working on and what their times are, and book meetings in advance with each other if they know that, hey, I'm going to have this project, I'm going to need a review, or I'm going to need this, rather than being reactionary and like reaching out, hey, you're free now, which someone then feels guilty, you can't move forward because you need me to sign this off. Be more prepared and think about the knock-on downstream consequences of like those meetings, you being on deadline, and also the pressure you put on somebody else if it's your deadline, not theirs.
Yeah, I think this just goes back to what we're saying, which is really just as a business owner being more intentional about the workplace. Mm-hmm. The benefits are probably exponential in terms of the time you put in. Jade, this has been absolutely fantastic. I feel like we were just kind of continuing the conversation we had at lunch over at Genius Network a few months ago. Where can people find out more about you and your company?
Yeah, beautiful. So probably the best place to connect with me is on LinkedIn. because most of my content goes there. You can reach out. So my handle is just at the Jade Green on there, or you just search Jade Green. I'll usually pop up. But that's probably the best way. Otherwise, my website is the same, www.thejadegreen.com.
Awesome. Jade, thanks so much for being on the show and sharing these awesome insights with me and the rest of the community here.
Thank you so much. A really exciting conversation.
Thanks, Jade. Thanks for listening. The Great Talent, Great Business podcast is brought to you by Work Better Now. Don't forget to review, subscribe, and download the worksheet for this episode at the link below. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on LinkedIn at Great Talent, Great Business, or visit greattalentpodcast.com.